Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a special guest with me. His name's Ganesh, and so I don't want to do him any injustice, so I'm going to let him do his own introduction. Over to you.
Hi there, it's Ganesh here from TSK Mortgages. Thanks for the non-introduction. But yeah, look, I'm the director of TSK Mortgages. So yeah, been invited by Sai to come and discuss the UK property market, how mortgages work. And yeah, looking forward to dissecting it as much as we can, I guess, and sharing some tips.
The question that probably everybody wants to kind of know, and obviously you're in the industry, you can't give us that golden answer, but what's your opinion on how the housing market's going to change over the next
Wow, you're dropping it. You're dropping it.
just your feel of what it is.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is what I say to everyone. Like, I am literally a tiny drop in an ocean. Okay, so what we're doing, as much as I'm saying to you how great we're doing, we are such a small drop of what is the UK property market, and I've been very lucky in the sense that the areas that I've been working in, like Sutton, Surrey, like most of Surrey, London, Central London, Bank, Canary Wharf. I'm just rolling off the areas that I've done mortgages in. These areas, you'd argue, are very affluent, you know, and if they're not affluent, they're sort of like very they're high in demand areas. Yeah. I mean, if you look at Chelmsford, for example, there are just developments everywhere. There are new builds popping up left, right and centre. Croydon, same thing again. Sutton, same thing again. You know, you drive on a straight road in London and you just don't talk to anyone and just look around for like 5 minutes and you'll see development after development. So my question is, how can we go through a crash and how can we, like, you know, for me, the market is driven a lot by interest rates. It is driven a lot by base rate, because obviously if the base rate is increased by the government, which it hasn't done in a long time, then naturally that's going to trickle through to the interest rates that lenders can charge. Yeah. So at the moment, I mean, the lowest rate we have is 0.84 or 0.83, which is ridiculous, right? Yeah. But if the base rate goes from 0.1 to 2%, or no, it's not going to go, okay, well, don't know, but let's say it goes to 1%, you know, okay, that rate's going to go to maybe 1.7 or 1.8, right? Yeah. But what we've got to remember is the market is not just driven by the interest rates and not just by the Bank of England base rate. And more importantly, for me, it's about supply and demand, okay? You in London, Chelmsford, Cambridge, these sort of areas that I'm, you know, exposed to, you live in very overpopulated areas. There is not enough housing, you know? And if you look at the way life goes, like people go from living in London to then go to Greater London, to then to Surrey or to Essex or whatever, you know, that's how it works, you know? Perhaps if you were looking at properties up north or you were looking at properties, you know, further away, you could argue, okay, the demand's not that strong and, you know, maybe as a result of that, there's going to be a dip in the property market. But from what I've experienced, I think what we're going to find is a steady growth, or maybe just a slight like it's just going to stay around. If your house is worth 500,000, it's going to be like 505, 502, 503 or whatever for maybe a year, and then start going back up again. As it gets
that's an interesting question, because like I always think about the fact that our parents, they bought houses that are now like £1 million or something. Yeah. But they bought it at like 100,000 or something stupid like that, like 25 years back or something like that. Is there any chance that the property prices now can go up in that much value? Like, is it possible? Like, personally, I feel like it's not, because you just can't sustain that level of inflation.
I don't think so. Yeah, I have to agree with that. Yeah, I have to agree with that. I mean, and this is where the argument kind of, it's like I need to crawl back now, because it's like, well, if that's the case, then when is it going to stop, right? That's probably your question. But I think ultimately, okay, firstly, when our parents or the previous generations bought property, what we've got to remember is the interest rates were a lot more. The income was a lot less, you know. An average teacher's salary, for example, 20, 30 years ago might have been 15,000. Whereas now it's, you know, it depends. I mean, you know, you're looking at somewhere between 25 and 50 or 60,000 for a teacher. You know, don't know why I chose a teacher there, but there you go. My dad's a teacher, maybe that's what it is. So you know, when you look at that, it's everything is relative. You know, it's like when people say, "Oh, when I go to Denmark," I can't remember the country, but there's a certain country where they say, "Oh, McDonald's is like £12 or something," and you're like, "Yeah, but then what are they earning?" You know, Norway, that's the country, and then they're earning, like, someone who works at McDonald's is earning 50k. So you know, you can't.
It's all relative.
Yeah, it's all relative, and I think yes, your point is right. I think there is going to be a certain point where maybe properties can't go on the same proportionate levels of what they did those years ago, but at the same time, I don't see them sort of dropping because salaries I don't think will drop either. If you know what I mean. But it's a good point, really good point.
And I guess if it does drop drastically, it's basically like 2008, was it, when in America?
That's when there was
the housing bubble and stuff, and it literally just crashed the whole market.
Absolutely.
And we kind of learned from that to not be in that position, in the sense that it's not inflated in the way of like people doing dodgy stuff.
No.
It's inflated in the way that people's salaries and things have just gone up, and life has changed.
Exactly, yeah. You'd like to think that's what it is, but at the same time, I don't think anyone saw that happening. So, I mean, look, we've just been through a pandemic. You know, anything can happen, right? So, you know, I'm not going to sit here and, to be honest, I'm probably not educated or scholarly enough to know, you know, the intricacies of the markets and things like that. All I'm really going on is an element of common sense, supply and demand, which is quite an easy language to learn, to understand, really. And the fact that UK is just growing and growing and growing, you know, as people have more kids, as people have more jobs, and, you know, it's just a natural progression. What we seem to do in a lot of areas is it just gets bigger and bigger, you know, like Croydon is like busting at its seams, you know, so it's naturally you're going to need people to move, you know.
So I guess if we take Croydon, for instance, the housing market there was this time where, probably 6-7 years back now, where Westfield was going to come there. And so there was a big boom. Everybody wanted to buy properties in Croydon and around Croydon.
Absolutely.
Now there's that, I've heard like there's things like Westfield may not be coming there and things like that. So those people who have bought in that time, have they now made a loss?
It's a very good question. I know personally of a lot of clients who sort of bought at a much lower end for like maybe 125, 150, and as the talk was happening in Croydon, they increased it up to like, say, 250 even. But then as soon as the news sort of filtrates down that it's not going to happen, or, you know, things like that, you'd say it's gone down to like 220. So the answer to the question is, it's a bit like crypto. Like, when did you buy? You know, because it might have gone up, but you might just not have made as much. You know?
So in the long run, it's still net positive.
I think so. I think it's hard. It's a hard one to ask. I'm sure there are some unlucky individuals out there who bought at 250, and they're now looking at 230, thinking, "Ooh, like, what am I going to do?" But the general rule of thumb for me is, if you're a first-time buyer, the best advice I can give you is buy, because anything is better than renting, if you can afford it, obviously. Anything is better than renting. And even if you're worried and your reasons are, or I don't know what's going to happen to the property market, whatever, as you just said, let's say we made a 30k loss, right? If you calculate what you're paying in rent, and then divide it by, and times that by 3 years, I'd be quite shocked if it isn't the money that you would have lost anyway, worst case scenario, you know? So I say, you know, if you've got no property and you've got the deposit, or there are schemes available that allow you to get on the ladder, it's the best and the most soundest, you know, investment you can make. Because generally, as a rule of thumb, and this is, again, I can speak from personal experience as well as the thousands of mortgages that I've done, it's very rare. In fact, it's never happened to me where someone's come back to me and they come to do a remortgage and their property's gone down and down. And bear in mind, I've been doing this job for nearly 15 years. So, you know, it doesn't happen. And if you have, then, okay, the worst thing is you're going to have to wait for a few years until it just rises back up, you know. Bold statement to make, I know, especially on camera, but that's genuinely the truth.
Yeah.
So why would I not advocate it? You know?
Yeah, I guess like you said, it's the timing, right? Depending on what time they bought the place and stuff, there's always going to be a chance where it'll get back to at least that same level.
Yeah.
If not, like, go ahead, hopefully.
This is it. I mean, I'll give you an example. There was a property that when I worked in Barnard Markets in Sutton, there was a time when stamp duty was free up to 250.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was an incentive. It might not have been free, but there was an incentive. So we were selling this property, I'll tell you, Collingwood Road, and basically we had like 40 viewings.
Okay. And
someone bought it for 253,000. Okay, right? I couldn't get my head around it. I was like, so at 250 is no stamp duty, and you've just cost yourself $7,000, like, because you really want this house, when you could have just, I don't know, like you didn't need to do that, basically.
Yeah.
That same customer came back to me 2 years for a remortgage, and the property had gone up to 350. So who's the mug? Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, they did a bit of work, but the whole, it just shows, you know, this is the power of property. Like, and that was around the time when property did just go, probably about 6-7 years ago, when it was a really good time to buy.
Thanks, Kana, for a great conversation. I for sure learned a lot having a conversation with Kana. I'm sure you must have learned at least one thing, if not lots more, from this video. Remember, every person's situation is unique. So if you are thinking about buying a new property, regardless of when, as Kana mentioned, any time is always going to be a great time, as TSK Mortgages will be able to help you get your dream home. And also, they can help you plan towards getting there as well. So check them out in the link in the description down below, or head over to Kana's Instagram page at tsk.mortgages to find out more. If you like this video, make sure you check out the bite-sized videos in the playlist down there, and check out Kana at TSK Mortgages here. And while you're at it, go and follow Kana on his Instagram and subscribe to this channel. Smash the like button and comment down below and share with your friends and family. Peace and love to all of you. See you in the next video. Bye.